So Manchester United eventually are going to have to start thinking about who is going to replace Bruno Fernandes in the long term, because he's 31 in October and has pretty much played every single game for the last few seasons, and if you take him out of the side right now and bring in the wrong replacement, the level of the overall side goes down significantly, and so we need a replacement not for now, but for the future, but also someone who can come in and coexist in the same squad, and even in the same starting 11 alongside Bruno. And I think a player who should at least be under consideration is Middlesbrough's Hayden Hackney, who is 22, 23 in June, and has been by far one of the best midfielders in the Championship this season. But the questions I'm going to be answering in this video is, why do I rate Hackney so highly despite him playing in the Championship? Do the stats in his FB report reflect the hype around him? And if he were to come into this Manchester United side, what tactical issues would he solve? And are there any other Championship players who Manchester United should be looking at for the summer? So straight on to analysing Hackney, and to be frank, his FB ref report is so impressive, you can clearly see he's too good for the Championship, but I'll show you that in just a moment. But from the eye test, the two key attributes that Hackney has that tells me that he could be a top level player is his incisive passing and his ability to thread through balls. Because if you watch Hackney play, he does resemble Bruno Fernandes in how comfortable he is when he's dropping deep to receive the ball to feet, and then taking the responsibility upon himself to play those risky but necessary passes. And this usually comes in the form of shaping like he's going to play an easy pass to circulate the ball wide before closing his hips on the ball and threading a pass between the lines, progressing the ball in behind the opposition's midfield line. And when you look at Hackney's FB ref report, you can see how good his passing is. But before I show you that, a quick reminder, if you do want to pick up any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to dragonjersey.com. They've got a variety of different current season and retro jerseys, with this 2008-2009 Barcelona jersey from the year that Pep won his first Champions League being one of my favourites on the site. Depending on where you live, you can get 7 to 12 day delivery time, as well as a 30-day money back guarantee. But if you do want to check out any of the details before you buy, their WhatsApp and email are also on the site. If you use code Atlantis at checkout, you'll get a 10% discount for a limited time, so I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comment section below. So in the Championship this season, you can see that Hackney is undeniably one of the best progressive passers in the league, ranking in the top 1% for his progressive passes and his passes into the final third, the 96th percentile for his passes into the penalty area, and the 92nd percentile for his through balls, whilst also ranking around the 80th percentile or higher for pretty much every other important passing metric, alongside being a high volume passer in general. And his ability to progress the ball from in front of the opposition's defensive shape to between the lines and even out wide in advanced positions is why I think Hackney is perfect to come in and play as an understudy to Bruno Fernandes next season, with him being lined up as his long-term successor. And this is because he offers something different to both Mainu and Agate, being someone who can get on the ball and dictate from deep, playing the role of a deeper line playmaker, as we've seen Bruno Fernandes playing in recent months in Amorim's midfield double pivot. But what makes Hackney more than just an average Premier League central midfielder who is thriving in the Championship, and someone who I believe could break into the England squad for Euro 2028, or maybe even earlier for the 2026 World Cup, is that his skill set in possession is so complete. He isn't just a passer, but also someone who is press resistant, comfortable receiving the ball under pressure with his back to goal, and like Frankie de Jong, obviously not to the same level, he has the ability to twist and turn, drop a shoulder and then drive into the space, which alongside his passing ability gives him multiple ways of progressing the ball forward. Now out of possession, Hackney isn't exactly a João Neves, who's a ball winner, a deeper line playmaker and a ball carrier all in one, but he covers ground efficiently, can put in a tackle well, and all round, whilst he certainly isn't an Agate or Edison level of a ball winner, he's more than capable of holding his own in a midfield double pivot in the Premier League. Now in terms of price, Hackney does have a contract at Middlesbrough until 2027, and I have seen multiple reports that Middlesbrough's asking price would be anywhere between 15 to 25 million pounds, and so I think if United could get him for between 18 to maybe like 20 million pounds, maybe with some speculative long-term add-ons included, then signing Hayden Hackney would be an excellent deal. I don't think he comes into the starting 11 and displaces either Bruno Fernandes or Mainu straight away, but his skill set is versatile enough that he'd be able to play alongside Agate in a midfield double pivot, with one of Mainu or Bruno ahead in the interior forward position, or alongside Hackney and Agate in a midfield three. And considering United could probably get around 10 to 12 million pounds for Toby Collier, or maybe even include him in the actual deal, Hackney will come in as an upgrade on Christian Eriksen, improving United's squad depth quality. Yes, you may say that he's only playing in the Championship and the Premier League is a big jump, which is definitely true, but from the eye test and the stats you can clearly see that Hackney is ready for that move up, and considering his age profile, skill set and the price, there aren't going to be too many better options on the market in my opinion. And with Hayden Hackney coming in and Sekou Kone being promoted, and players like Jim Thwaites, Tyler Fletcher and Jacob Devaney in the background, I think United would have massively improved on Collier and Eriksson with this deal for only about £8 to £10 million more in terms of the transfer fee, and also saving money in terms of the salary, because Hackney is going to be on at most around a third of what Christian Eriksen is currently on, which would then free up money for United to go and sign a more industrious physical ball winner or a ball carrier for around £30 to £35 million as well. But considering that Hackney seems to be a diamond in the rough, are there any other Championship players that United should be thinking about making a move for? Well, before I tell you about two other players in the Championship, a quick reminder, I do have a Patreon where I upload articles on niche and interesting topics, so if you do want to sign up for that, you can get a 7-day free trial. You can also sign up for my in-game Instagram group chat, so I'll leave my Patreon linked in the eye above, description, comment section, and on the end screen after the video. Well, two central midfielders who I think United should at least be considering are Coventry's Ben Sheaf and Norwich's Marcelino Nunes. Now both are slightly different stylistically to Hackney, with Sheaf being more of a regista in the mould of a Zubimendi, someone who could play as a single pivot at the base of the midfield, whilst Nunes is a more offensive version of Hackney, but I don't think he's as good as a Middlesbrough man when it comes to playing incisive passes through the centre of the pitch, with his specialty being his switches of play from deeper positions, but also his creativity further up the pitch, which you'll see in just a minute when we look at Sheaf and Nunes' FB ref reports. Sheaf would come in as someone who could be an alternative to Agate. Now overall Agate is definitely the better player, but Sheaf is superior in certain areas, certainly in possession where Sheaf would improve United's ability to play out of pressure during the build-up phase, being astute at creating angles for the goalkeeper or centre-backs to split the forward line press, whilst also being very comfortable when receiving the ball with his back to goal, and then using intricate and incisive passes to then break the lines of the midfield press. And of the three, Sheaf is probably the most complete once you factor in both in and out of possession, as when you look at his FB ref report you can see that in the Championship he's an absolute monster when it comes to his progressive passing, sitting in the mid 90th percentiles for his progressive passes and passes into the final third, as well as the 85th percentile for his passes into the penalty area. He doesn't quite have the same eye for a killer through ball in the way that Hackney does, and whilst I wouldn't say he's as good as Hackney in terms of his ball carrying ability or his press resistance when needing to drop a shoulder and turn out of pressure, his tall build and athleticism does kind of remind me of Declan Rice, as despite primarily being someone who progresses the ball via his passing from deep, as his ball carrying metrics show, he does have the ability to eat up ground efficiently when driving into space with the ball at his feet, and defensively I'd probably say that Sheaf is the best of the three, being someone who's similar to Boudaoui and Edison, who I mentioned in previous videos, which I'll leave linked in the eye above, could work well when sitting behind the ball in the rest defence, and using his athleticism, physicality and tough tackling to shuttle across on the recovery and break up counter-attacks before they get into a dangerous position. You could consider Nunes a blend of both Sheaf and Hackney, not being as good defensively as Sheaf, as I don't think he has the same defensive awareness or reading of the game that the Coventry man has, which is reflected in his low amount of interceptions completed, but he does have that South American tenacious front foot defending style, which leads to him being an incredibly high volume tackler, as seen by the fact that he ranks in the top 2 and 4% for his dribblers tackled and challenged respectively. I think all three would aid United in the build-up phase if you put them into the midfield, and actually be an improvement on Agate in terms of playing out of pressure with 1 and 2 touch bounce passes around the corner and finding incisive passes to split the midfield in the middle third, but Nunes doesn't have the same athletic ball carrying ability as either Hackney or Sheaf, although he does make up for this by being by far the superior creatively in the final third, ranking in the low to mid 90th percentiles for his XG assisted, expected assists and key passes, alongside not just being a superior goal threat to those two, but one of the best goal scoring midfielders in the Championship, ranking in the mid 90th percentiles for both his non-penalty goals and non-penalty XG. And so what Nunes lacks in terms of his athletic ball carrying ability, defensive awareness and reading of the game, he certainly makes for in terms of his creative output. And so in short, Ben Sheaf would be a player that would kind of play that Agate role, but would be a stylistic alternative who offers more in the build-up phase, whilst Hackney and Nunes initially would come in as a Christian Eriksen replacement and potentially a long-term Bruno Fernandes replacement, playing a more creative role than Ben Sheaf in the midfield. But I think of the three, Hackney is definitely the best option, as I think on current ability he's the best and he has the highest potential, and not just because he's the youngest, but also because already his incisive passing ability and press resistance tells me that he could come into the Premier League next season and not look out of place in a side like United, maybe not as a starter every week, but definitely as an alternative behind Mainu and Bruno Fernandes. But after a year or so of adaptation, I could definitely see him developing into one of the best central midfielders in the league, and whilst all three would be reasonably priced, likely costing somewhere in the region of 15 to 20 million pounds, Hackney's age profile, current and potential ability, in my eyes makes him the best deal of the three. So let me know who you prefer out of the three, and if you do want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to Dragon Jersey. You can also use code Atlantis at checkout to get a discount. I'll leave it linked in the description and comment section below. And if you do want to sign up to my Patreon to read my articles, you can get a 7-day free trial, or sign up to the group chat and get that included as well. I'll leave it on the end screen now alongside another video.